So here's a whirlwind screencast of Chapter 1 notes. Hopefully you can get these in your notebook or note the figures that are talked about referencing the textbook to use that to guide you in studying for a quiz on Chapter 1 next week. So we want to make sure we understand the difference between anatomy versus physiology. So anatomy we already talked about is the parts of our body, how they relate to one another, whereas physiology talks about how those parts work together, how they function. And we want to know the difference between gross anatomy versus microscopic. Microscopic's self-explanatory to a degree. Maybe gross isn't quite as easy, but if you think about cutting open fetal pigs, that might be kind of gross, or a cadaver. Physiology, you might be a specialist in physiology where you look at specific parts of the body, like the nervous system, neurophysiology, or the heart and the cardiovascular system as part of cardiophysiology. The key to understand, though, if you want to understand physiology, it's really, really important to understand the anatomy and the language of anatomy that is related to it. This should be reviewed from 10th grade biology. The basic unit of matter, an atom, used together collectively to form molecules and compounds, some of which we talked about, organic compounds. And so we want to make sure we remember those important compounds make up the human body. And filling those cells also is a lot of water. The basic unit of life, I hope you remember, is the cell, how they can combine, if they're similar types of cells, to form tissues. Different tissues working together, forming a common function, make up organs like a lung or a heart or a stomach. Organs working together for a common function make up organ systems like the cardiovascular system or the muscular system. And all of the organ systems together collectively make the organism. This is just a visual of those levels of organization if it helps you to see it rather than just having words to talk about it. Figure 1-2 on page 8 and 9, chapter 1. Generally, you need to know and be able to recognize from description of their function or key organs these different systems. So spend a little time doing that. My challenge to all of you is to make some flashcards. They can be electronic flashcards through like a Quizlet app or something, or the old-fashioned kind of flashcards to get used to this vocabulary. If you show me your flashcards next week early on, I will give you extra credit to start quarter 2. Sorry, we got a little interruption there. Survival needs. What are some basic things that human body has to have? Hopefully you say automatically, well, we need water, we need food, and breath is kind of handy, so oxygen. And it's kind of helpful to know what we use those things for. What are nutrients in food needed for? What's oxygen all about that we have to have? And why is water so important? Can you answer that? Review, and hopefully you can. We had an assignment on homeostasis. I want you to understand that process. Understand that it can happen at a cellular level and a whole body level and areas in between. Ultimately, homeostasis relies on information coming in. So you have the receptor that is communicating with the control center, brain or spinal cord, and an effector. An effector is what changes things in response, what change is being made in the body as a response. So understand what these control mechanisms are at a general level. Some examples of homeostasis: we need a constant body temperature, our heart rate has to adjust based on our blood demands and oxygen demands. Respiration, our rate of breathing is related to our oxygen levels in the blood and the demand of cells for that oxygen. Blood sugar levels have to be regulated within a certain range. We can't have too much carbon dioxide in the blood, so we have to make sure we're expelling that. That's all part of negative feedback systems that regulate these things. There are some homeostatic situations where you actually amplify and get further away from the norm. Blood clotting, the immune response, and giving birth are 3 examples of positive feedback systems. But by definition, this is what we're talking about. So for positive feedback mechanisms, you are trying to increase the stimulus to get to protect the body or get the job done that needs to be done. So giving birth, you amplify the contractions that are happening until the baby is born, or you keep the system changing in the course of blood clotting until that blood stops, the blood clots and there's no longer profuse bleeding from a wound, or keep amplifying the immune response until you have the disease under control that you're trying to fight. But mostly, they fit into this kind of category. Blood level or blood sugar levels, for example, need to be kept at a certain set point. If it gets too high, have a bunch of sweets, then your body has to respond to bring it down. And if it gets too low, body responds again to bring it back up. Would this be a positive or negative feedback system? It's a negative because whichever way the effector changes things, it's to get it back to normal. It's much like the thermostat in your house. You get it set to 68, 69%, or 68 degrees, and then if it gets too hot, it cools you down with air conditioning. If it gets too low, it's going to kick on the heater or the furnace. So this is, and get familiar with this diagram because I will have a similar one that you will have to interpret and maybe fill in some spots for a quiz down the road. Other terms to become familiar with: metabolism, excretion, what are those? So here's a definition for those. All the chemical reactions in your body, that's metabolism. The ability to remove waste from the cells and your body as a whole, that's excretion. You did some practice assignments already using and talking about the anatomical position and why we need it, because in the medical field, you need to be precise about where you're talking about. You don't want to start a surgery in the wrong spot. And the directional terms that they use, again, are a common language that doctors and medical staff can use. And the locations on the body, they need to be familiar with that. So get familiar with those anatomical landmarks. Look at figure 1.3 on page 10. This is a similar diagram showing those landmarks. So look it over, compare. Look for the ones that are in common with what you have in your notes. Another figure, 1.6, page 14. Know the planes of the body, not the trains, the planes. Can you recognize one from a diagram? Those are the ones we did with the gummy planes assignment. Directional terms. Here are the paired directional terms that you need to get familiar with and recognize. Spend some time, and we'll have a chance to get some feedback on the assignment you did, but then also have more practice early next week. Getting, putting these terms into action. And then the cavities of the body. So there's a figure 1.7, page 15, to get familiar with. But it's getting at similarly what's shown here.